In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a Power BI dashboard, and to give it a little bit more of a realistic twist, I'm also including stakeholder requirements of that it needs to be on one page, understand why they didn't hit the target of 20% margin, and then also be able to dynamically filter all different parts, and then they're able to issue to different regions their parts of the dashboard as well. So with that in mind, let's head over to my Power BI desktop. So if you'd like to follow along, there's a link to the sample dataset in the description below. And then once you've got that downloaded, we can start importing the data and the calendar to start building out our dashboard. So now you've got the data saved, what you need to do is import the data by going to the folder which you've downloaded and exported the zip to, and then start importing each one by one. All you need to do is just click on your first one you come up to after you've done import data from Excel, click on, and then do transform data. And then this will pull in your first table. And then if you want to load in more, we can just go into here and import the next one. Same thing, import, and then the next one. And then load that one. And now we've got those loaded in. What we need to do is just import the calendar, which we can do by clicking on a blank query and then opening up your blank calendar table, which is here. Copy all of that, go to Advanced Editor, highlight, paste, and then do done. So now we have all those loaded in. We want to rename these into more usable formats for our tables. So for date, we call that dim date. Sales, we'll call fact sales. And then for products, we notice that the column is not showing as first row as headers. So we can use this here, use first row as headers, and then that will push that first row to be headers. And then we can rename this dim product. And then for customer, again, we need to use first row as headers, and then we want to call that dim customer. And now we've got those all set up. We just want to check that we're happy with the formatting we got on here. So we could go, let's got text. So we know that's text. And then we go for dim product and we can see, yep, text is fine there. And then for fact sales, we can see we have some dates here that are not in the correct format. Now, these are coming up in the incorrect format because I'm using UK as my formatting, and these are most likely US format. So what I would want to do, if you are seeing it in this format and not already in the format that you would see if you had US format, then right click, go to change type, and then use local. And then we want to change that to date. And then use United States because that's the format that it was coming through in. And then this will convert it. And there we go. And then we can do the same for shipped. And let me just check if there's any more that need to be done. And that's no, so it's just this one. Then we go in. And again, go to date, United States, and click OK. And now that's converted. And then we go into the date. Now at the moment we can see our dates are in the right format, but the data set is showing dates from 2014, I think it was. Yep, 2014 all the way to end of 2017. Yeah, so we want to then change the dates on the dim date to be from the 1st of the 1st 2014, and then we want that to go all the way to 2018 1/1 to get to the end of 2017. So then what we can do, we can just check here, and then if we do sort descending, we can see the end of 2017. So then we can go back to sort ascending, and now we've got everything already set up. And then we can just click close and apply. And now we want to do our model. So one of the good things that Power BI does is automatically select what possible connection you would want between your model. The idea here is that I want to be able to make these 3 dim tables go straight into the fact sales, but at the moment we can see there's 2 going in. So if we bring up the product, so yes, we can see product's gone in. I'm gonna have to scroll along a little bit to do this one. And there we go. And then for date, we want order date. and we can just drag that in like there. And then if we can collapse, we can actually see which ones are the connections, and we're ensuring that we've got the correct ones that we actually want. So customer ID is going in, single, product ID is going into product ID, and the order date is going into the order date. Now, the reason why I'm using it in the form of a schema model than me going in and merging all tables together to be able to just give you one fact sales with the product information, the customer information, is it's best practice to do it like this because there's less process and calculation that needs to happen, so it makes your model quicker. But also, if you were to say to bring in another table that also had customer ID or product ID or both, and also had data that then could connect to maybe the fact sales, but maybe it didn't. So then you have a separate table that would be utilizing the customer and product ID, and you could have data that would be coming from both fact sales and this other table using the customer and product ID, and you'd be able to filter between the two. Where if you didn't, and you just had all this information in that one table, and then you had another one with all that table, you have no link. You would almost need to create these again just to be able to create a link between the two tables for you to be able to filter on one page to make everything dynamic. So that's the reason why it's always best to have all your dimension tables set as separate tables instead of merging them into your main fact table. So now we've done our data modeling, we can start planning out how we want to do the actual layout of our dashboard. Okay, so first things first, what we're going to do is just start planning out this layout. If we go and insert a text box, and then if we just call that sales performance, and then if we just bring that in, make that slightly bigger, and then we want to be able to just sort of split out where we're going to have the slices. So if we add a line like so, and then we want to rotate it 90 degrees, and then bring that in a bit, and then if we just move that up to the top, make it line up with that, bring it down, and then we can sort out how that looks a little bit later. So now we need to add in some slices. So if we just get ourselves a slicer here, and then if we just add in the year as our first slicer, like so, and let's make that a list. Let's make that a drop down actually, and then we can just bring that in, and then let's stick that in there like so. Bring that line up. It seems a bit large, so let's just make this just a little bit smaller. Do 9, and then slice ahead of 9. Let's maybe make it 10, and then we can just bring that in slightly, and then let's add in month. Let's do month short. So if we click onto the build visual part, we can then come back to the date table, and where we just copied over the year, we can then put in month short, because now give the shortened version of the name. And then as you can see, it says month short up here, but if we change that to month, we can then see month as the title, and then the order is going alphabetically. So what we want to do is go to month short, and then we want to sort the column by month. And the reason why we want to do it by month is the number. So it's going 1, 2, 3, 4 for January, February, March, and April. And then if we do that, we can then look back, and now we see it January, February, March, April, May, June, July, etc. So now we've got those two, we then need to think what other ones will be useful. So if we have a look here, we can see, as I mentioned earlier, region and city. So I think those will be useful. So if we just add in them, we'll copy over these. So there we go, copy and paste, and then get that one there. And then for the first one, let's do region, and then remove month. Check that's fine. Yep, state is probably the better option here than country, because there's only one country, US. So let's put state in, and then we look here. Yep, and then finally city. We drag in, remove month, and now we've got city over here. So now we've got them. Let's have a look over at the products, and we seem to have 3 sets of products here. We've got category, product name, and subcategory. So if we stick each of those in as well and just leave a little bit of space just to kind of give it its own little breakout, and there we go, and one more, and now we've pasted in 3 more there, and now we need to know what the order would be. I assume category and then subcategory and then product name, so we'll find out in a minute. So let's do category. Yep, there's only 3 of them there, and then we can do subcategory and we can see, yep, there's loads there. And then product name should just be every single product. So these are probably quite large names. Yeah, and these are being cut off slightly, but that's fine. And I think maybe with product name, because there are so many, we'll probably want to be able to search. So we can go up to the format visual, and then if we go slicer settings, you have an option here that says search, and then if you click it on, you can then have a search on there, so you can start typing in maybe chair. There we go, chair, and then these are all the ones with chair in the name, which you can just hover over and have a look. And subcategory, probably let's do the same, and then we do the same for city, and then we go search on. Yep, that's going it, and possibly state as well. And then month's easy enough there, and that's fine. And region is only 4, so yep. So now we got all those, and then I think customer wise, let's take another one over. Now we really only have, could I maybe fit another one in below there? I really want to have them have a little bit more space, but for now, let's put in the 2. See if that fits. Yeah, it does, and we can bring that down slightly anyway, and that actually fits with having the little bit of partition, even if it's only small. So in here we can do 2, and we've got segment and customer name, so let's put in segment and then customer name. And as we poured those over, it's kept chair in the search for some reason, so we just remove those. Just be aware when you're checking back on these that you're getting nothing already hard coded in place. And yep, that's all looking good. So now we want to start building out the cards on here, but we're going to need to build the measures that we need to add to our cards and graphs. So the measures we're going to want to create are your total sales, because we already have sales as a column. So we can't call it sales, so we call it total sales. And then we've got profit, so I'm going to call that total profit. And then margin, which will be total profit divided by total sales, and then made into a percentage. And then we want to do count, and then we're going to want to do the number of orders will be a distinct count of all order IDs to be able to get you the number of orders. And then average transaction value will be total sales divided by the number of orders. So if we go up to our fact sales here, or you can select new measure, but unless you actually clicked on a table, it will just put something randomly somewhere. But as we're going to be building out most of our measures, we're going to have them sitting in the fact sales and then create a measure table within fact sales to be able to keep everything nice and neat. So let's go up to the little 3 dots in the corner and go new measure. And for our first measure, let's type in total sales, and then sum of the total sales, which is sales all the way there, and then close bracket. And then we've got our first measure made. And then what we want to do is just format that as currency and auto that with, let's make that 2. And now we want to do the same with profit. So if we go up to new measure, total profit with a capital P, and then we do sum of profit. There you are, and there we go. And then again, currency with 2 decimal places, and now we have our total profit. And then for the margin, again, we go up, do new measure. We then call that margin percentage, and then we want to use the divide function, which is divide, and then we want to put what it is that we're looking at here, which is the profit. So actually you want to write total profit. There it is. And then comma to divide by total sales, which is there. And then to return 0. And if we just make this just a little bit more neater, bring this down, tab out, tab, alt return, tab again, alt return, tab, and then alt return, then return, and then we've got a nice formatted DAX formula for our divide function for making margin. So now we're going to do a distinct count measure. So again, new measure, story of your life when you're doing a Power BI report, measure after measure. And then we do number new full stop of sales, not sales when we're talking about orders, number of orders, and we are going to do distinct count. We go order ID and close bracket, and then we've got our number of orders. And then last but no means least, average transaction value, which is basically of all orders, how much sales did those make? So it gives you an average transaction of the order. So we use the acronym ATV for average transaction value. And then we want to do our divide again. So let's start writing that in a better format already instead of tabbing it down later. And then we go with total sales, comma, tab, and then number of orders. What if I did it around the right way? There you are. And then we do a comma and then 0 and then close bracket. And we have our average transaction value. We will want to do currency as well and actually make that 0 decimal places. I need to just double check that number of orders did do whole number. I should do. Yep, did. Good. That's one thing I forgot to just double check then. And now we have those, we can start building our cards. Yay. So if we get a card, don't know why it keeps making them this long. It's crazy. We can add in now. I don't know the sizing. I think that's probably a decent enough size. So if we add in that there, and then we do average transaction value. So let's do this in an order, and then I can see here because I think we might have a bit more room to bring this out, but I believe this should be a nice size. So let's go average transaction value. I don't like the title being at the bottom, so let's remove category label and let's actually give it a title, ATV, and then we can have it up in the corner, and then that gives enough space for us to be able to do our call outs. I think we can actually just bring this up slightly as well, but that would do for now. Maybe I can bring it in a little bit more, and then we want to do this 5 times. And I've lost count, but I'm assuming I just did 5. So let's have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, cool. So if we just highlight those, move those along, click that one off, and then we're good there. That looks good. Let's move that along a bit. This one's going to be a bit larger because this is going to be our main number of total sales. So if we just drop total sales in, it's bringing up our amount there. Actually, let's remember, let's make this 2017. And now we've got it showing up in K. So what we want to do here is, because we're getting a decimal place and it's showing in thousands, we want to be able to change that to 0 decimal places. So we can do that under our format visual, and there we go. We now have that showing up there. And then if we go to here, we want total profit. So again, we're probably going to have to do the same. Yep, we're going to have to go back to here. And then if we go to our call out value and then do decimal places as 0, it's auto displaying units. Best to do auto display because if, say, we didn't want to see 2017, you can see here 2 million. Otherwise, it would show 20 whatever K, because it's gone over that amount, and then it might go outside your box. So it's always good to just have auto format in these instances. Sometimes it can be a bit annoying when you're using them in different places, which I'm sure we'll probably come across when we start building out the rest of the actual dashboard. So now we've got that there. I want to move that there, and it's just reminded me I don't think I've formatted margin to. So yeah, I haven't formatted it. So let's click on that. Just minimize it for the moment. And let's make it percentage, and let's make it percentage of 1 decimal place. And now we've got that there. We just move that off and then we can just rename. Let's do that as title, as general. And that is margin percentage. And then we do that. And then for this one, we need to type in profit. And then this one, we're going to call it sales. And this one will be a number of orders. And it will be once I put in the number of orders, which is there. And then we want to go back up to here, make sure we're on the right one, and go number of orders. And now we have our number of orders. Let's leave as is. Let's bring that in. Bring that in. Bring that in. And let's bring that in a little bit. Let's make this slightly bigger. Let's bring these down slightly. And there we go. And now we can start working on our graph. So if we get a line chart, put that in. I want to have a line chart about there. And then if we think, let's have a clustered bar chart. Let's have that over here, lined up, bring that up a bit. And then we can bring that all the way down. And then down here, let's go for, let's say, a matrix for now, in, and have it all lined up. That for now. So now we've got what we're going to go with our layout, and let's get to see what this looks like when we start dropping in data. So first things first, let's get in our line graph to see how total sales looks against total profit. So if we drop in total sales and then under the secondary field, drop in total profit. And then what we want is, month year as our x-axis. And as the issue we had with the ordering, we need to format this into a sort order. And then this is the reason why I have month year sort. Now if we go up here, because we've clicked on month year, we go to month year sort, we can then see it go in order. I know why it hasn't changed. I just need to go up to here. And then if you do sort axis, then you need to change it from total sales, because it's going from most total sales first all the way down. Then we want to go month year. And then once you've gone there, we can go to here and then choose sort ascending to get January, February, March, April, May, June, July. Cool. So now we've got that. We want to then look at the performance. Now, total profit has 0 showing axis here. And as that line is equal to 0 for total profit, and total profit there, we can see is minus 5,890. That's not as noticeable to the naked eye unless you were aware of what was kind of going on there. So I think this might mean we probably want to try a different chart. And I think a combi chart would be a good one. So if we have line and cluster column chart, we can now see profit still the line. So we want to switch these around. So if we do sales as the line and then profit as the column, we can now see our minus profit. So what we want to do is call out that minus profit. And the best way we can do this is by using the clever little trick of conditional formatting on your bar chart. While you have this selected, we can go over to the format visual. And then all the way down here, we have columns. As you can see, we've got a default color. So we could change the color if we wanted to, and then it would change the color. Or we can select on this little conditional formatting and then add our own one. And we can do this by adding in a rule. So if we go to rules, and then we want to be able to show green and red. So green for when profit's been made and red for when profit hasn't been made. Now this theme that comes as standard does not seem to have green in it. Now you can go more colors and start adding in green, but I find this such a pain having to do that. So what we want to be able to do, if we just cancel out of here, if we go to view, we then have all these different views of themes that can be used and have the means to be able to actually browse a gallery and find other one. But all I need is one that has green and red in it, and looking at that one, City Park has green and red. So if we click on that one, this should cover what we need. So what we can do, we can head back over to colors and then click on that conditional formatting. So yeah, now we can see we've got a green and red. But what we want to do is go to rules. And at the moment, it's asking you what field should this be based on. Now it's saying count of month and year. That's not useful. So what we want to do is click on that one. And then we want to click on the one we actually want, which is total profit. So once we clicked on total profit, we can then start adding in our rules. So we only need two. We want one that's less than 0 to be red and equal or greater than 0 to be green. Now we've got what we've got here. Let's make these all numbers. And as we don't have any minimum and no maximum, we can just remove the max on the one that's going to be greater than 0 and then the min on the one that's going to be lower, and then we can select what we want our color scheme to be. So if we go for that red, and then for the greater than 0 or equal to greater than 0 we go for that green, and then if we do OK, we now get this layout where we can actually see where it's called out where minus profit has actually happened while still seeing total sales. So we can actually see total sales actually dipped in that month, but then it also, there was a loss. But then you can see there's certain months where there was less sales, but actually made more profit. So even July, that's actually made third least profit, because it looks like February, apart from obviously April with being the first with minus profit, April and July and Feb look kind of similar. Yeah, £4,000 out on total sales difference, and profit wise was just under about 700. Yeah, £700 more profit that month. So now we can see there's where the performance of the profit has happened over the different months, and then really calls out where profit was not made in April. Now, all the formatting here at the moment, don't need to worry about. We can decide on all formatting in a minute after we've built out the rest of what we want to have. Always focus on the build and then worry about color scheme and everything afterwards. So what we need is now to add in data to this part here, and I think we should go with region. Well, that's just going to take up a lot of room. So if we dump that in, and then we want to do total sales, and we can see the total sales there. Now that's showing as green. Now we got total profit there. So for the bar, we want to have total sales, and total sales is this bluey gray color. So we want to match that up. And if we go to bars, colors, and then I believe it's that color. Just double check by clicking on here. Lines, colors, total sales. Yeah, so it is that color. So now, because you're keeping it consistent with what something is, sales is always going to be that color. And now we've got that layout. We want to see or understand, did those make profit? So really, we want to be able to do the exact same what we've done here. But because we're using sales, we want it to call out if any particular sales region didn't make profit, and if it did, it stays the same color. So we can do exactly the same thing by, if we come over to the bars where we just change the colors, we can add in conditional formatting, go up to rules, and again here we can select our profit again, because what we want to be able to do is pick out which ones are not making profit even if they're showing higher sales. So we could have a region that has a higher sales but not making profit. So what we want to do is just add in, like we did before, a new rule, and then changes to number, remove 0 there to make min, and then the 0 here to make max, and then we leave that to give your build out, and then we want to make that red, and then we want to copy into that color that we had before, which I think was that one. And then if we do OK, we should, if there is any of them that didn't make any profit, should change red or stay this bluey color. And now that's done, nothing's changed. How we can see if something has changed is if we click on this one, it should show me ones that, yes, here we go, it's gone red. So what that's telling you is East was the only one that has made sales that's actually made a profit. Now, to actually double check that this is actually correct, because at the moment when we're hovering over, we're just seeing sales, sales, sales. So let's drop in total profit into the tooltip. And then if we hover over now, we can see total profit is minus 3,000 odd, 2,000 odd, made £294 profit in that month. So there actually was a profitable region in that period. And then central, we have got minus 300 odd. Now, if you have tried to copy this exact when you've clicked on this month and it's went not in this view and then just did a reduced view, what you need to do is go into your options, and then within the file under the options under current report, you want to go to report settings, and then you want to click on the means to be able to do cross filtering and not be cross highlighting, which I'm showing right now. So once that's done, you'll get this view every time you click on anything. And it works the same if you wanted to click on a different month. So if we click it off and then click on another month, you can see there. And then if we click off, it goes away. And if we go say, look at Feb, you can see it's there. And then if we hover over, we can see how much profit and everything's made. But we can see that nothing's really happened apart from what's happened in that particular month of April. So that one's kind of useful, but I feel you get more out of this dashboard if we had probably product. So if we go for category, so if we drop category in under the y-axis for this particular chart, and then subcategory, and then let's do product name. Now that's done, we can drill down by using the two arrows here to then see category, subcategories next. Now that category, again, is probably about as useful as the region. I would probably get rid of that one. And then I'll drill down again, which will then take us to what is subcategory. And now we can actually see subcategories which are making profit and which are not. So we can see here tables, machines, bookcases, and supplies all making negative profit for the whole year of 2017, not just April. And then if we wanted to, we can then see the products all here. And obviously there's quite a lot there. So if we scroll back up, we can then drill back up by pressing the up arrow. And then if we wanted to just maybe look at one area, so let's say if we wanted to just look at tables, you can just right click into your table and it will show you, if you drill down, all tables, and then it's filtered everything else as well. So now you know you're purely looking at just tables. Now the only issue here is you don't have anything that's telling you that's what's happened. If you decided to go back up and then come back down by pressing the two arrows, and then we decided on subcategory to go table like so. Now if anybody viewed this report, they'll get to see the same view that we just saw just a moment ago because I drilled down. And if they printed it out or anything, they can see year as 2017 and then also subcategory as table. And then the same could be said if we just picked a state. No, let's pick a region. Let's say we pick East. Again, it shows you this is East's performance with tables like so. So if we get rid of those and then get back to making our report, we can now start working on our table. Now if we drill back up, as we have total profit sales going there, we got our sales and then showing which areas, which products are not making profit, as well as ones that are, and then also the sales performance. We want to start looking at state because region is only 4, so at least state will give us more. So if we go rows, and then we can start putting in our total sales as values, and then our total profit, and then our number of orders, our margin percent, and then number of orders, and then ATV. So now we've got our table here. You can see there's certain areas that are not making profit and the margin is mixed. What we want to understand is why is the margin higher in some areas than others? And they had quite high sales there. They've been selling copiers, so maybe there's better margin on copiers. But then look at California, they have 20% margin. And again, tables seem to be taking up quite a bit. Now, margin is driven by the cost of goods. However, we do have a discount amount here. So if we were to create an average discount, let's have a new measure and add in average discount. This will then give us the average of the discounts for those particular areas, and also apply it to the tooltip on the subcategory graph and then be able to see if there is a correlation to the lack of profit where there's more discounts being applied. So if we go average and then do discount on the sales and like so, we can then just drop that in And as that is a percentage, we want to do percentage with 0 decimal places. Oh, actually, let's make that 1 decimal place. So we can see here, if we were to go down to the areas where there are minus profit, we can see the average discount is quite high. So that makes me want to go and have a look at what could be a distribution of the discount. So if we hopefully have room over here, we go up until this, there we go. So if we come to about here, it gives us enough space because we didn't want to have it. So if we went too high, this would happen. We want to be able to see everything. So if we scroll down, there we go. And now we want to make a distribution, which we can do by using the clustered column chart. And then that popped in really nicely at the bottom there. And then we can do discount as our x-axis. And if we do that as it is, and then we'll want to apply it to each row. Instead of doing a count using one of the columns, create a measure and count of rows and just count all rows in the fact sales table. So if we do count of rows and then we do count rows, fact sales, close bracket, we'll get all product lines, and then that's whole number. And then if we put that on the y-axis, we then get a distribution where we can see the majority are 0%. So no discount applied, but then we can see 20% is the next highest. And after that, you've got various different ones. Now, as these are not in a particular order, so we've got 10%, it's probably, 15%. Those are going to be like random percent, 32%. Yeah. So it'd be a good idea to bucket these. So what I'm going to do is go to discounts, and instead of me creating a grouping via like an if function or switch or anything like that, I'm just going to do some bins based on the new group function. So all you would need to do, whatever you want to create a group on. So in this case, I want to create a group of 10% groups. So 0 to 10%, 10% to 20%, so on and so forth. You can just go into the bit that you want, which is discounts here. You click on the 3 little dots and then bring up the information. If you go down to new group, you get the means to be able to create some bins. Now it's giving you a bin size here, but I'm going to do 10%. So 10% in this case would be 0.10. And then that will create me bins. So we can then just do OK to then create that. So now that's been created, you can just drag this above the x-axis in for that graph. And now we've got, just remove the old one, a clearer indication of the distribution of discounts. Now, the only issue with using the bins like this is, like I said, when I made the bins, you know when you make them that it's 10% for each ones. And the report user might want to know this is 0%, this is 0 or greater than 0 to 10%, like 1% to 10%. And then this is anything from 10% to 20%. And then that's anything from 20% to 30%, 40%, to so on and so forth. So you can't see that in here. It looks like it's just 0%, 10%, 20%. But for this distribution and just understanding what's happening, that's fine. For just being able to just give an overview. Now, as we can see, the average discount here is a lot. So you would think based on the average discount, that's made a profit. It's going to be close to maybe 30%, maybe 25% is where the profit's not being made. So what we can do exactly the same logic that we did before here, just instead of it being sales, we're actually using the discount. So if we put in the profit to change the color, so we can go back in, and if we are clicked on this, we can then go back up to our format visual, go to columns, and then here you can see that's the color. And just to prove the point, we can see if we change it to that color, you can see it's changed color. So now we click on the conditional formatting. We can do our format style as rules. We don't want to do count rows as what our field is based on. We want to go down to fact sales, open that up, find our total profit. And then once we've done that, we do a new rule. And again, we set this to number, remove that one to make min and that one to make max. And then we change that to that red. And then for the color for this one, let's make it orange. So if we go to OK, we can now see we've got everything that has a discount has been making a profit up until 20%, and 30% onwards are the ones that are making an actual loss. So if we could we go back up to our builder visual, we can put in a tooltip of total profit. And let's probably put in total sales as well. And then if we hover over, we can see total profit 100,000 when it's 0, 10%, 3,800, 20%, 30,000. And then if we go to 30%, we can see 4,000. And there's been 35,000 of total sales. I've had a 30 to 40% discount. So now we know we have these discounts. We probably want to know how many actually had a discount applied, and we can see 0 quite a lot there. So it'd probably be worth to understand how many actually had a discount. So what we want to do now is build out some discount measures. So if we go to, again, back sales, do new measure. So what we want to get is the number of products that have discounts on them. So if we go and create this one and call it number of discounts, and we're gonna want to use calculate because we want to be able to filter by anything greater than 0 for the discount amount. So we're going to want to know all the rows on the sales data set, as each one will have a discount or not applied. So we want to know how many of those have had an actual discount applied. So we want to use the count rows as our main measure for our counting. And then we want to then filter by a discount greater than 0. So if we type in discount and we go to fact sales discount and then use the greater than sign and then 0, and then we close bracket, we'll now get a count that have a discount applied. Now we want it to be whole number and it's already done that. So we can then just drag that in like so. And now we have the number of discounts. So now we can see here, as expected, all the ones that are 0 are showing as none. And then we can see how many have been actually applied. What we want to know now is what percentage of all the products. So in this case, one of the lines had a discount, but there could be multiple lines per order. So we wouldn't know what the percentage of discounts were applied against all the different products in those 9 orders. We just know one product line was given a discount out of a possible, could be anything. What we want to do now is work out what percentage of these number of discounts make up of the total number of rows that are in the sales table. So what we're going to want to do now is find out how many of these discounts actually make up of all product lines. So if we go to new measure, we are going to want to divide number of discounts by the total number of rows. So if we call this percent discounts applied, and then we do divide by number of discounts, put the comma in, and then count of rows, there we go. And then we want that to come out as 0, and then close bracket. And now that's created, we want to make that into a percentage, and then let's make that just one decimal place and format in the table later. And then we can just drop that in like so. And now we've got our percentage discount applied. So now we know that 239 discounts that were applied made up of 36% of the total product lines. So all the lines in all those orders, 36% of them made up 239. So then if we look here, Delaware with their that one discount applied to 5.3% of all the product lines. And now we know the percentage of discounts applied and the number of discounts. Because we know anything over 20% of a discount is a cause for profit to be negative, we then want to know of those number of discounts here, how many of them were over 20%, and then what was the overall percentage of all discounts applied. So how many of the over 20% discount makes up of the number of discounts. So for our number of discounts over 20%, I am going to be lazy and I'm going to select our number of discounts that were over 0. I'm just going to highlight that all, copy, and then I'm going to click on new measure. I'm going to then paste in there and then go in and then change that to 20, so for 20%, and then I'm going to do number of discounts greater than 20%, and then that will give me my number of discounts over 20%, like so. So if we bring that in a little bit, if it lets me, there we go. So we can now see the number of discounts that were over 20%. So we can actually look and notice that, say, California, they had a load of discounts. However, none of them were over 20%, where New York had 5 of their 90 discounts, and they even had a higher margin. So depending on what California was selling, New York had a higher margin, was able to give a few more discounts there and still make profit. If we look at then the ones that probably didn't make any profit and actually made minus profit, they've probably got majority over 20%. So if we scroll down, we can see that there are a large amount that are over. So it's not the majority, so literally not all of them. So they have made some profit somewhere, but you can see there's quite a lot. And this is why now what we want to do is add in the percentage for the number of these discounts there. So we want that divided by that to give the percentage. And we can do that by, if we nick the percentage discount applied, so we can get away with not having to keep writing out stuff, and then we copy that one, and then if we paste that in, we want percentage discounts greater than 20%, and we want to divide by number of discounts this time. So if we copy that and replace the number of rows, and then here we want number of discounts that are greater than 20. So if we remove that, it then gives us the option, and then we can select it and then press return, and we got a whole new measure without having to write much, because we basically just reused one that we've done before. And as we want this as a percentage, click percentage, and then we change that to 1 decimal place. And then if we bring that in slightly, that in slightly, that in more, and then drop it in, we can now see here. So you see Delaware, the only discount they ever did was actually over 20%, but because it was the only one, that's why their average discount is so low. So now we have our basic layout now of our dashboard. The only thing missing is being able to look at how 2017 performed against 2016. To do this is to have a nice little call out which can tell us in the corner here what percentage performance was. If sales was up, sales was down, profit was up, profit was down, margin was up, margin was down, but the percentage difference between the 2 years, and then be able to call out with our red and green again to be able to say if it's gone up or if it's gone down with red. So how we do this is we need to be able to create a measure that basically looks at same period last year. And luckily there's a function in DAX that allows you to do just that. Now, one caveat is works perfectly with this setup because we've got a completed year, months, and so on and so forth. If you were working with data that was suddenly had a gap of you're only in the second week of a month in the middle of the year and you did same period last year and things like that, because it's not giving you the complete period because you haven't completed that full month, it's not the best thing to use. But for this particular instance, it's going to work perfectly and it's so much easier to use. And as this is doing your first dashboard and getting used to using Power BI in this way, it makes sense to kind of keep it as simple as possible. Although we will get a little bit more complicated with how DAX is written and using variables and everything like that. But if you've covered any of my previous videos, you should get a feel for these from when I did my 2 different measure videos. So what we want to do is create our new measure. And the good thing here is once we've written one, it'd be easy for us to just copy and paste like we did with the discounts to make life a lot easier and this a lot quicker. So the first one we're going to do is same period last year for total sales. So if we do total sales last period, or same period last year even, and then we want to be able to do calculate, and then we want to be able to use total sales because that is what we are using. And then we want to then go the same period last year. And that is exactly what the thing is called. So if you click here, the same period last year, and then we want to be able to select the date table because we want to be able to reference an actual date. And because our dim date table is our main source for our dates, that's the one you want to use. So if we start typing in date, you'll notice down here we have dim date and then dim date date. That's the one you want to use. So then we select that one and then we do close brackets and we now have same period last year. Now, if we format that into currency and we change that to 0 for now, we change that to 2 actually. Now we have total sales same period last year. What we can do is just double check that that's worked. So if this has worked, this is 2016's amount and that should show up here when I change the year. So what we want to see now is total sales when I change it to 2016 to show the number 609,205.60. So if we click on that, that's exactly what we see. And then same period last year, that means that's 2015. And then if we do that again, we can see if that 470, which is there, then shows up here if I click on 2015 and it does. So we know that's working. So we can go back to our 2017 and we know that this is actually showing us same period last year. So now we actually have that particular one. We then want to know the percentage difference between the two. So how we do that is if we create the measure, we want to divide the difference between the 2 years. So what we want to be able to create is total sales minus same period last year, and then divide that by total sales last year. And then that will give us our percentage difference if it was an increase or decrease depending on the particular area we're looking at. So if we're looking at over the whole year, was it greater, which we know it is because we can see here. Now, what we're going to do is create our difference percentage and we can now call this one total sales. So we can call this one total sales, if I can spell it correctly, total sales this year versus same period last year. And then we want to do divide. And then this is where we want to get a little bit smart in what we're going to do. So instead of just doing 1, we want to be able to look at total sales, take away total sales, same period last year, and then make it a little bit easier to read. We now want to divide that by total sales last year, which is that one. So we just copy that to make it easier. And then set as 0 and then close bracket. And actually, let's say percent total sales. There we go. So then we know it's percentage. So now that's done, we can then format that into a percentage and then set that to 1 decimal place. And now we click on here and then add that just between there. We can then see that California sales was up by 11.3%. New York was up 30%. Washington had not the largest increase, but had a very large increase considering the amount of profit they made. So actually they've done really well. And then as mentioned earlier, when we saw New Jersey, that actually had a decrease in sales of 47.3%. So now we know that works. We got that there. We can then create our little card on the top here to then be able to give us an indication of what the percentage is. Now we can see here there was a 20.4% increase. So if we go into here and then add, actually I don't want to click on that, click off, and then we want to add a card. Not that big though. And then we do this and let's just put it there for the moment. And then we want to drop in our percentage total sales. There we go. And then we want to, let's do category label off. And what we want to do is call that previous year PY, and let's just center it for now. And if we go back, we need to make that call out value smaller, and let's make it 10, and let's remove decimal place as well. Actually no, let's leave the decimal place for now. And if we click it off, we should have PY over the top, anything like that. So see how small we can make this. We then go find the corner. There's the corner. So now we know we've got a little call out card there. And let's make that title a bit too big. So let's make you 8. No, not 10, 8. There we go. We'll probably bring that in a little bit more. Nah, let's leave it like that. So now we got our little card. What we want to do now is make it so it does a little call out. So if we go over to the format visual while you clicked on that, and then if we go to general, you have effects, and then you got background. So if we have background, we can just give it a color if we wanted, because we know it's green. We want it to be dynamic, because what happens if anything changes, if someone filters on the report and it goes something else. So instead of having it like that, we can do our wonderful thing again, where we can set our rules. And because it's already picking up the measure that we're already using in here and the one we want to actually match that to, all we need to do is add in our new rule. For anything less than, let's just make it a very lighter red, and then anything greater than a green. And then we know if the value is min, that's fine. Any value that is 0 or that is greater than, get rid of the max, and then that's 0. So we know anything less than 0 is going to be that light red, and anything that's 0 or more is going to be that green. And then we do OK, and then it will make it that light green. So now we've created that one, what we want to do is create similar for everything else. So if we just copy this over and then just slot these in all the different places. So now we have these all set up ready. We can now start adding in the measures that we need for profit, margin, number of orders, and ATV, doing exactly the same as what we did before. So for now, because we know these have worked, we want to cross-reference to double check, say total profit is working. For our next one, so we take those off, and then we want to go to total sales previous year, and then we want to copy that formula or measure even, and then we do new measure, and then this one we're going to call total profit, and then we go here and then do profit, and then that pop up just like that, and then we can save that one, and then we can format it. Now as we has our measure already saved to be able to copy in, let's do the same for margin, number of orders, and ATV to save some time. So if we go in and we've done sales, and now this time we want to do margin, percent, and then we do margin, and then press return, make that percent, and 1 decimal place. And let's do the same for number of orders. Paste in, and then we just do number of orders, and then replace total sales with number of orders as well, like so, and then press return. And that's formatted as whole number. And now we do the same with ATV. Paste it in, change it to ATV, and then change that to ATV. There we go, press return. And then we want to format that to currency, and then change that to 0 decimal place. And so now we've done them. Now we want to replicate what we've done with the total sales percentage difference, which is what we've got here. And we want to do that for all the others as well. So I'm going to create those, starting with profit. So paste in, and then we do total profit, year to date, or this year compared to year to date. And then everything here where it says sales, we just change that with profit. Like so. And actually, let me just copy and paste. That's going to be so much quicker and easier. So if we just do total profit, total sales, like so. And then we have it. And then as I've taken that, copied, let me copy that again so I can use that for our next one. And then we format, percentage, 1 decimal place. And then we do margin. Same thing, we do margin percent. And then this one, I think I ended up calling total margin percent. Same period last year, probably. Let's just type in margin and see how that looks. Yeah, total margin there, and then total margin percent for the rest. So if I copy that there, that there, should just call it margin percent, same period last year, but hey ho. And again, we format that as a percentage with a 1 decimal place. Now we do the same for number of orders. Type in number of orders. Go, and I cannot remember if I called it total number of orders. I did, so we can get away with taking number of orders, placing margin percentage, and margin percentage. I think only ATV, I called it its proper name. And then up here, we want to say number of orders as well. And then we want to copy that, so then we can do it for the last one, ATV. And then we need to format that as percentage and 1 decimal place. And now last but no means least, we are going to add in the bit we need for ATV. So we can go number of orders, change that to ATV, and then here ATV. And then we can just copy that over and replace number of orders and total number of orders, because we didn't call it that, we just called it ATV. Same period last year. And then we can make that to a percentage with 1 decimal place. So now we've created all those, we can start setting up our cards with those remaining amounts. So as we know sales is done, we can now go to profit, and then we can bring in our percentage total profit, which is that one. And then for margin, we can just drop that in. And then if we go to orders, and then last but no means least, ATV. So as you can see at the moment, everything's still shown as green, even the ones that are minus. And the reason being is that they are still looking at the sales as their reason for changing color. So what we need to do is go to our format visual. Once you've clicked on the particular card, go to general, and then we want to go to effects, and then where the background is, we want to go to color. And as it's already remembered, and this is the reason why I copied it so you didn't have to go through all this rigmarole again, is now that's already set up, all you have to do is just change what the field should be based on. So we're on profit, so we go to our fact sales, and then we find the percentage total profit this year versus same period last year. And then if we do OK, it will then save it there. And then because it is more than, that's why it's green. But if we did the same with margin, go over to here, color, change to margin, do OK, it will then go red. Do the same for number of orders. And as you see, I'm clicking through and it's just really simple because it's already showing up. This is why it's a good idea to batch stuff together. This is a lot more productive to do it this way than doing it bit by bit, creating a new one from scratch. Just copy them over, and then once you're ready, you can start adding in the bits that you want and then format. The same goes for if you change titles, anything like that. You'd all do it all in one go. Every time you click on a graph, it would automatically keep going here. So you'd have to keep clicking here and then going here and then open up here and open it each time. It's not very productive. So this is why it's a lot better to do it like this. And then if we do last but no means least, ATV, and then this should be red. So if we go here, here, and then ATV, okay, red. So now we got our previous year call outs all done. The one thing I want to do is then look at what we have here as additional parts in this table. At the moment, it covers quite a bit, but what would be good to know is know what the profit and performance is by state. So if we drop in our total profit compared to last year, and then if we just double check to see how that looks with same period last year, and let's have a look at how everything kind of looks. That's interesting. So as we can see here, it's showing minus 151% compared to last year. But last year, Florida didn't make a profit, but they made a profit this year. So actually, that's an increase, which means, and the slight problem here is where it's got the 100%, because it's doing minus of total profit with minus of there, it's giving a skewed total profit percentage. So basically what we want to be able to do now is we want to reverse how we've done the divide. So instead of it being total profit, take away total profit, same period last year, which is how this is done at the moment, we want to switch it, but we want to tell it to do that. All we need to do is go back to our measure, and we'll need to switch these around, but we want to do this within the measure. So now we're going to start using variables, because if we use variables, this will make our life a lot easier. So if we do variable, and if we call this one a positive, and then equals, and then if we just bring that in a bit, tab these out, I can then copy these over, make my life easier, for whatever reason it's doing it there. And so if I copy that, alt return, and then we've got our one here, and then I'm going to want to be able to do a return, so let's just type that in now. This one I want to be negative, and I want it to be total profit taking away from total profit same period last year. So all I've done is just cut that, switch it around, so it's the opposite here, still doing the divided by same period last year, but it's just switching it around, because that should be a positive amount because it actually is in profit this year compared to last year when it wasn't. So then we want to write an if function then to be able to call out if same period last year is less than, do this one, and if same period last year is greater than 0, then do that one. So we write that first by going, if actually we have these down here where there wasn't a total profit, so we don't even want to see a percentage, we don't even want to see them in there because they actually haven't taken part in this year's figures, so really want to remove them. So what we want to do is basically go if total profit equal to blank, because it's blank, then blank. So we do blank again. Technically I could just do 2 quotation marks as well, but it's a lot better to use blank because then you know exactly what you've got there. And then we want to do our final if function. If now we want if less than, so if this is less than 0, so total profit same period last year is less than 0, then we want to use this one, which is the negative. We do negative, and then we want, then if that's not the case, we want to use the positive one, which is the one we originally had, and then close bracket, and then fingers crossed this should fix this percentage and then remove Maine and Wyoming. Yeah, so now that's not showing there. So once I move total profit same period last year, those will not show. And then Florida, yeah, instead of being minus thing, it's now showing a positive. So now we've got all this set up. This technically in its current state could be used by the business, to be given to stakeholders, and they could use it and it'd be given a lot more information than what they previously had before. But I do find that a lot of people, even if it is telling them what they want, if it's not visually pleasing, some people won't even bother looking at it or really using it, or just forget about it. And then you spend all this time making this very useful dashboard, but users will just go, oh no, I'm just going to go back to looking at these PDFs I receive or this large Excel document that gives me all my information because, oh, I'm finding this a little bit too complicated because it's not quite looking right. And this is when just having that little bit of extra time after you've done to tidy it up to make it just look more neater and more visually appealing to the end user. So a good example is to kind of think about how you could border off things, because at the moment we don't have any borders. If you click on something, it kind of has a border. Another thing is when you're trying to read things like total sales, because we've got total profit in that order, we could put total thing there. You can normally see, oh look, yeah, that's increasing, apart from that one there where you can see that's actually got total sales is higher than the 2 above, and they've got a more profit. And you want something to sort of call it out, but then also you want to be able to make this a little bit more readable. So getting rid of decimal places make life easier, changing some of the titles, actually telling them what this is, and just sort of sorting out here, because in a way black is just a bit too much in your face. And in this case, because we already have like this bluey purpley color going on, it's probably worth keeping the look. And even here we've got blue, is to probably keep it in a sort of a nice blue tone. So what I reckon is So let's start with our sales performance. Let's make that color, and let's bring that in slightly, and let's have a look at the sizing that we've got here. Let's make that 90 by 1, oops, not that, 1.6 like that. And then slices, let's go with height of, yeah, let's stick with the height we've got here. And let's just make it in line with that. So if we do that, and now we've done that, let's move this back over slightly so that linking up to that point. And then we want to make that maybe a light blue. So we go to effects, I think, is it visual border? I never remember what it is to change the color on there. Ah, there it is, border. And let's make that one. Maybe that light one, light. Yeah, let's make it that light blue for now, just because it's kind of softer. Still does its job, but it's not in your face, because that's the point. You don't want it to be in your face when it's just something that's just partitioning off different parts of the report. So with the slices, I think we want to maybe give those a little, because I think at the moment they're showing as black. So just maybe in with the blue theme. So we go slicer header, and if we go that blue, yeah, taking the edge off it, and 10 is fine. And then for values, that looks fine. And size wise, looks okay. Maybe if I make it a little bit bigger, what's that look like? A bit too much. Yeah, let's leave it as 9. And then once you're happy with that, then click out. Well, now you've got your slices all nicely set up. And now because you're just taking that edge off with making it that blue instead of black, it's made it just that little bit more easier on the eye. So now what we can do, we can start moving these around slightly. So I reckon I can probably make this a bit wider. So I'm thinking what we could do is, as we have this particular light blue, we could use that as our borders on everything. So if we go to here and click on the format visual, and then go general effects, visual border, and then pick that light blue. And then we can probably do the same again here. And like I said before, when you do one thing over and over, it leaves everything open, so you can just click on it. And then here we go. We can just go and do it on that one. And then again, this one. And then last but no means least, this one. So now we all have borders here. And I think probably let's do it with the cards as well. So if we go there, blue, I wonder if it lets me multi-select. It does. So if we multi-select and then do visual border and click on it, normally in the same visualizations, you can multi-select and do it all in one go. But if you try and do it on different ones, it normally doesn't work, but I could just be proved wrong. Yeah, there you go. It's disappeared. Didn't give me the option. So now we have all our borders. As you can see, it's already starting to look a little bit nicer. Now we haven't cleaned this up a little bit, so let's just move this out. There we go. And we've still got a big gap here, so it's probably a good idea to maybe start looking at these cards a little bit more. I'm going to bring this down a bit, and this is going to make this do here, but I think while working with this, it'd be a good idea just to give a bit of room, just so we know what we're working with. So let's go with, so with the sales, we've got a call out. I'm not a fan of that font. Let's have a look. Let's go with the size. So the properties, we've got a height of that. Seems a bit squished because you've got this card here and it could do a bit more space. So I reckon if I make height maybe 115 and just make it a bit bigger, let's make it maybe 35. There we go. That looks a little bit more neater. Bring that over there. Bring this over and have that with a little bit of offset. Leave a little bit of space. That looks quite nice. And now for our title, we can come back over here and then go make it bigger. Do you know what? That looks quite good. I quite like that size wise. Now let's make it that blue, or is that going to be a bit too much? Maybe that's a bit too much. Let's do maybe that blue. Maybe make that bold. Yeah, stands out a little bit more. Takes the edge off that sales looking like that. Let's make it that blue. Yeah, Maybe that's the one to use. Now we've got that one. Now I want to do the overall call out value here. So we go to visual, call out value, and I'm not a fan of that font. As we've been using this one throughout the whole thing, let's change it to that. Oh, that's a lot nicer. Let's change that to that blue that we're consistently using, bluey purple, whatever it is. And now we have that. Maybe we need to start looking at this particular card. But I quite like that layout. So what I'm going to do is apply that format. So what you can do, you can click on something like this and click Format Painter. And then if you click on here, it will then format everything else. So now if we bring that down, make that slightly bigger, and maybe I'll check those out in a minute. Let's just format each one. So click on Format Painter, click on it. That's the formatting, so I don't have to go for all that palaver, doing it on all of them. And now I want to play with this visual card, and probably going to want to do it across the board all at the same time, because I don't want to, by mistake, do Format Painter and then change the conditional formatting with something else. Just to be on the safe side, we want to just do it straight up like that. As we're on call out value, let's change it to that font. There we go. And then we want to probably make it slightly bigger because we've got a bigger thing now. Yeah, that's quite good. And then maybe we want to make it that blue again, bluey purpley thing. Now, quite happy to have the points on it, so that's fine. Now we probably want to have a look at the title. So we can see the title's already in the format that we want there. Probably need to make it slightly bigger. Pushing it down a bit should be okay. Annoyingly, I can't see under there, but it's still within the size. I can always just resize in the properties in a minute. And then I reckon we don't want it to be as thingy as that. So I think if we go for that one, that will just take off the edge. So it doesn't overpower the overall number, but still tells you what it is. And as I said, properties, I reckon if I made these 5, that should quite nice. Yeah, there we go. Let's click on that using the arrow key just to push it a little bit to the left. And then I think with this profit one, if we just move that along, I'm quite liking these little gaps. So maybe I can keep a little gap, and then we can move that one along, and then we do the same here and checking that's aligned with it. Yeah, and then we can make that one slightly bigger, not too big because I want to be able to keep room, so I can put these lines in again. And then we do that one, make that one slightly bigger. UV is probably going to be a bit smaller, and then we can kick these along. Or if they let me select. Cool, so now we have that. We can probably get away with moving this up slightly. We can bring this one in slightly, move that up, try and match up those gaps, similar. Anything that's slightly out generally makes your eyes wander. So, and bring that up slightly. And then we do the same here with this one. And actually, we're probably going to make one a bit smaller because we want this to actually fit in all. So we need to, there we go. What fits it all in? Oh, too far. There we go. And now, luckily, this distribution doesn't need a lot of space. Still not quite happy with the spacing down the side there, but first we need to fix up these columns before I do any more of that. But as we can see, already starting to look a lot nicer than it was when we finished setting everything up. So, word of advice, always keep saving. So one thing I've just noticed, page 1 still says page 1. So let's call this sales performance. There we go. And now what we want to be able to do is look at how this is formatted. So what we want to do is probably get rid of anything that just says total sales because we don't need it to say total. And then profit, just call profit. And then this is going to be profit previous year percentage. And then margin is fine, number of orders is fine, average discount. See, discount takes up a lot of room. We can give it a title which add discount so we know what disc means. People will be able to figure that out. So we can get away with doing average disc. And then the same goes for number of discs. disk applied. And don't think we need to know number of discounts because we know we're going to have the percentage, so we can get rid of that one. And then that gives us the room here to then have percentage disc over 20%. There we go. And now that's tidied up, we can now go and fix what we got around here with the decimal places, because I don't think we need decimal places on a majority of these. So if you click on the table, you can go up to your format your visual. So in the format visual, you have your specific column, and under here, you can select your different measures that you've got. So it's basically any of the columns, and then you can format it in different ways. You can add like how the header color is and different things. Now, main one here is that I want to show that it is 0 decimal places. And if I wanted to, I could make it into thousands so people can just see how many thousands it is. But then obviously once you go into other numbers, it's not as noticeable. So some people might prefer to have the whole number. So leave that in there. So then we can go to profit and do the same. And then I think for profit previous year, let's do that as well. And then we can bring that in. And then it's giving us more space to pull it out here because as we saw, some were overlapping like there. And actually, if you do see any overlapping and you don't want it to go onto another row, but you want it to completely move across, you want to go to row headers. And then down here, you got text wrap, turn it off, and then it cuts off. And that's fine because if you're moving it in so far like this, people can still sort of see what the naming is. And then it just means you have more control over how much space you have. So in here, we've got quite a lot of space to use. Although now I'm thinking it might be a good idea to add a percentage of total sales column as an addition because we do have the space. But for now, let's just get the formatting done and then decide if we're going to go down that route at the end. If there is room, it's quite a useful measure to add as well. So those two can be pure 0 decimal place. So we go back and let's just do it from back to front. Let's just do 0. And now we have our table. Now I'm thinking it's good to kind of have stuff a bit partitioned. And the best way to do this is I'm just going to create basically a blank column. So there'll be nothing in it, but then you can format how it looks. So what we're going to do is just call it blank. And I'm just doing it under the date table just because I didn't want to keep putting loads of measures in the fact sales, but we'll tidy up that particular thing in a minute. And if we type in blank and then just save that as a measure in our table, if we drop that in, say we want to split that there, I can then call it nothing with a space, and then I can do exactly the same again for splitting the discounts. So can't really see any difference at the moment. So what I'm going to do is just clean up this bit. So if we go values, we've got alternative background color. Let's make that white. So it's all just one. And then I'm thinking maybe we can make that text color that blue just to take off the edge. I'm not sure that's going to be dark enough. So let's go for the darker one. Yeah, that looks better. That. There we go. And then as we've done that, we want to do that for the column headers, same color. And now, just like what we were doing when we were formatting, getting rid of the decimal places on the particular numbers, we are now going to go to our thing here and we're going to pick the blank. And then once we format this, it will do it on all. So what we want to be able to do is we want to apply to totals, values, subtotals, and headers. And then for our background color, we're going to go for the light gray, and then you can see partitioned it off. Now that light gray is not really light enough. It's still a bit prominent. So we are going to go in and fix the color here. Let's make this a bit lighter. So once you go in to make anything a bit lighter, you can go more colors and you can just move stuff here. But as we're going grey, I think maybe if I just add an extra 15. Oh no, wrong way. So if I do 45, there we go. And if I do 45, it should be light enough. If I do 45, so 245 cross red, green, blue, it will give us this grey. And yeah, we can see it's just light enough without being too in your face, which is what we want. And I'm thinking that this grid line could do with being maybe that light blue that we've used on everything else. So I'm going to go up here and go border, and let's make it that color. How's that look? Oh, that's not bright enough. So let's go that one. Yeah, that's good. And if we go, and so values, I reckon we could probably make this a little bit bigger, make it a little bit easier to read. Yeah, still got room to put in the percentage there. And I reckon then we can start looking at maybe column headers and row headers. So column headers will be a bit bigger, slightly bigger. Row headers, make that one bigger. Okay. And now we are going to get rid of these dreaded lines, grid lines. So, and again, now everything's looking a lot nicer. As we have sales showing, we want to be able to kind of point out which one it is because we got the different color scheme there. So I reckon if we remove the legend, add the title, and then I think this one needs some data labels. So if we add in the data label and values. Okay, let's do total profit. We don't need data labels. We just need it on sales. So if we click off that, and how I've done that is under data labels, you can apply settings and then did series, total profit. And then all I've done is turn off data labels. So now it's only showing the ones for the lines for the sales. So now if we click on total sales, we can now see it. So if I toggle that off, they'll go just like that. I'll toggle it back on. So now what we want to do is just sort the values, probably maybe have a bit of a background. So let's change the font to that font that we've been using. And then we go and make this that color maybe. And it's auto picking what the amount is. And background, let's go with white and 30% transparency for back of there. Still not quite happy with the color scheme here, so I think I'm going to replicate fact of profit loss as the red and green with this one. So with our distribution, we go back to column, go to additional formatting, and then here we pick the green and then do OK. And now we got it green. So now we see which are profitable discounts. Now we are looking really good now. This looks so much more pleasing on the eye just with those slight changes. The only thing now we need is to start playing around with these titles and add in that percentage of total sales per state. I have to create a couple of measures for that one. And then we can add some conditional formatting just to call out certain parts of these areas. First, let's do the headers, because then that will just make everything look a lot nicer. And then we can just do that finishing off this last bit of table. And then we are done. So let's have a look at how we want to do this. Now we got this light grey here. I think that would probably work quite well across the top, because just having a title sort of sitting there, they need to sort of make it stand out but not be too in your face. And how we title them, don't need to worry at the moment. So if we go across all, so I want to go to here and then find general under format visual. I'm on this one at the moment. On the title, you got your text color and your background color. Text color, I probably want it to be a similar blue to what we've been using here. And then, like I said, background color will be that light gray. So if we go here and then pick that light gray there, as you can see, it's quite dark. So we go back in, more colors. And then remember what we did before, we changed that to 245 and then call that 245 and then 245. And now we've got a nicer looking one there. And then for the text, I think if we go for that one, maybe that one. Yeah, that actually looks quite nice. And now we've done that, we can now do the same here and hopefully it will stay. Yes, it does. And then it remembers the colors that I've just done. So then I can quickly select. Nice and simple. Again, showing the usefulness of doing everything in one go, bit by bit. That one's not giving me a title because I haven't actually written anything in it yet. And text and background. And we are good. So because I don't have the legend in here, I want to sort of highlight what is sales and what is profit. I think so if we say sales is line and
profit is column.
Then that tells you what's happening there. For this one, because we've got different things that people can drill down to, we can't really say subcategory, but is sales. So we're going to call it sales, and then red bar show minus profit and sales. That fit. So red bar shows minus profit and sales. Yep, that works perfectly. If we then do this one, clicked it off, so I have to go all the way back into here. Title, there we go. And this one we are just going to be calling discount distribution. It would help I actually spelled distribution correctly. And now we got that done. And now we want to have our title here. And now this is everything. So this is going to be performance, sales performance. No, state performance. Let's call it state performance because that's all we're going to have on here. And then we've got sales, profit, margin percentage, number of orders, ATV, and discount on product. I am typing faster than this is picking up. Right, so state performance, sales, not ALs. Probably the ALs has made people get negative profit, although I shouldn't talk. I do love an AL. Margin percent, number of orders, not TV, ATV. Bloody hell. My typing is all over the place. There we go. And so here we go. State performance, sales, profit, margin percentage. So look at that. It's so nice. So nice. Yeah. So this has actually turned out really, really well. And now we just have the little bit of magic we need to do with this table. So let's add in that additional measure that I was talking about. So let's go into here and do new measure. So what I want to be able to do, if you've seen my previous video about calculate function, you'll know if you use the all function within it, you can remove the total. So you can actually just see the actual total. So instead of California showing that much, it will show the total down the side. And then that can be applied to then see what the percentage is. So if we call this one all sales, maybe not all capitals, all sales, and then we want to do calculate, and then we want to do total sales because that is what we're working with. There we go. And then we want to do all, that one, and then we want to do state because that's the where we want to take the filter off there. So then this doesn't actually capture it split by that amount. It will just give you its total. So if we do state and then close bracket and then one more close bracket, and then if we format that as currency, and then if we drop that in, there is your number. And yeah, it's giving us a lot of decimal places. Let's just make you 2 decimal places. So now we can see that's come up with 2 decimal places. Now we want to pull in one more measure, and we want to divide that by that, and then that will give you your percentage. So we call this one percentage of sales, and then we're going to do our divide. Come back, and then we're going to say we want total sales divided by all sales. Just down there, and then return 0, close bracket. And because it's percentage, we want to make it percentage with 0 decimal places. And now we got that made, we can now just drop that in. So if we click onto the table again, and if we drop it in just after all sales, so percentage sales, we can then see the percent of, so California made up 20% of all sales. And now we can get rid of all sales. And now we have our percentage sales in there. And now everything all fits really nice. One thing here, I just noticed it's not telling you that it's sales. So let's put title on. There we go. And because it's saying total sales, we want to be consistent. So we're saying sales here. So let's get rid of total, call it sales, and then do the same over here for total profit and total sales. Okay, so now that's done, we can just do the last part, which is conditional formatting to make your table pop. So if we go over, once we've clicked on the table to the format visual, come down to cell elements. And then here you can select different types of conditional formatting on your table. And in this case, we got sales, and sales, I want to be able to show like a bar. So if we just turn on the bar, it will then give you that. And then I'm not quite happy with the color. So I'm going to go with that light blue that we've been using here. See how that looks. There you go. Kind of just gives a little bit more of a visual without being too in your face. We can see down here sales in Florida, even though the profit is quite low. And here you can see sales go up quite a bit. Where down here, where some places, very small amount of sales, but actually made profit. But then as we have profit, we can go over to here and then go for profit. And then this time we want to go data bar. But because we have negative, we can then go negative, positive, and then do the access bar as white. Actually, I'm changed that on this things as well. And then if we go down here, we can see that's where that comes into play. So if we were to go, say, scroll back up, sales, we can start to see which ones are showing negative profit. Where before you could have kind of seen it because it's in the brackets. This just makes it so you can just automatically see and go, oh, okay, they made fourth highest amount of sales, but they made negative profit. And actually, they've done even worse compared to how they did last year. So, it automatically starts jumping out at you how that performs. So what we got here is we can see the minus amounts and everything. So it might be a good idea just to make those show a little bit more. So for this one, we probably just want to do font color. So we don't want it to be too prominent. And then we can get away with doing our rules again. Add a rule greater than. Let's make it that red and let's make it that green. Let's remove the min and the max there. It's because it sets percentage. So we make that number and then we do OK. And then those show more. Green's probably a little bit too faint, so let's actually make this a bit darker. Let's go for a darker one. Let's go for that one and that one. See how that looks. Yeah, it's not as noticeable, so maybe go back. That one and that one. Yeah, that's a bit better. Green could be a bit darker, but still does its job. Really highlights which ones have got the minus. Even if you look here with Michigan, their sales are good, they've made profit, but actually they're 6% down compared to the profit they made last year. And you can see that instantly because how everything's kind of been formatted in this particular one here. So maybe you want to do the same like with sales. Let's do with ATV. Let's just add in another bar. So data bar, go in, positive bar. Let's make it a different color this time. Let's make it a light orange. Negative bar is negative bar, but it won't be. And let's just make that white. And then you can start to see which ones have the higher things. So Delaware, they've got what looks like the highest. Oh no, Montana do. But then they only had 2 orders. And their profit was on point with what they did the previous year. And yeah, so things like that, you can really see how stuff just kind of jumps out at you. So the only one I haven't covered, well, there are other ones as well, but like we've got icons and everything. Icons are good for if you're doing sort of KPI hits, and if you had a table where you wanted to kind of do a weighted KPI, that's where the icons really come in handy. But they do take up quite a bit of room, so I prefer to stick with the color schemes. So for margin, we know from the actual information we're given from the stakeholder, they expected the margin to be hitting about 20% because it actually dropped this year compared to last year, even though the profit's up, but the profits are up because sales are up. Just the margin's gone down. So you want to be able to see which areas are not actually hitting that particular margin. So we can go to our rules. And then in this case, we can actually do the traffic light system of having red, amber, or in this case, should we make it yellow? Yeah, let's make it yellow. And green. Now, if we make these all numbers, we can do there, and then we do our minimum and max removal again. And the reason why I've done numbers, I just find it easier to work with when doing this than actually trying to work with the percentages, because sometimes it can be a bit hit and miss for some peculiar reason. So work with numbers. And basically, if we're looking at 20% is our goal, we want to make that green. So we do 0.20, and then for there, anything less than is going to be the amber yellowy color, but obviously we don't want that to go all the way down because we want there to be a point. So anything below 15, because if we give it a nice gap of maybe just 5% instead of making it go completely red, at least we can kind of show, well, you know, they're 5% off or within that range. So there is scope for improvement maybe. And then we just do anything below 15%, then that is seen as red. And then if we do OK, we are now being highlighted all the areas. Now, no surprise, anybody who's not made profit, they're going to show sort of minus. But even ones when they've had a bit of profit, they can show where they're not really performed. And then we can see the areas that have hit the 20% or more. And then if we start to scroll down, we can see, oh, you were close, but not quite there. But again, you can kind of go, well, you up on your profit than you were last year. That's not as great. Average transaction value looks quite good. And you didn't give any discounts. So not really their fault. Whatever they were selling, the actual margin wasn't great on it. And it meant that they probably need to sell a bit more higher margin products, but maybe they didn't do those. So that's what that kind of calls out to you. So this is where, again, so I keep harping on about this. It really sort of highlights all the parts in a visualization just in a table. You could just literally make a table just like this and make that your dashboard and it will do the same job. It's so powerful. It's great. Absolutely love them. So now we're just down to our last bits here, which are our discounts. And it's probably worth having discounts applied there and then number of discounts, because we know that's percentage, we know that's the number. We've only got percentage, but then we want to know the number next to it. So actually, let's move those two around and let's have that way, because then we got a percentage applied, created that amount, and then this percent of that amount was over 20%. So that way it kind of makes it a little bit easier to read. And then if we go for our average discount, basically anything over 20% we want to be red and anything below to be green, because that's the sort of target. So we go back in, go to, oh, wrong one, that one, and then go here, then go to average discount. And then we're going to do background color for this one. And then we're going to do our rules again. New rule, change the number, remove minimum, remove maximum, change that to a light pastely red, and then that to a pastely green, 0, 0, 0. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to do 20. I actually want to switch this around. Reverse order. There we go. And now we want to do that as 20, and then anything below 20, anything above, anything at and below. There we go. That will then give us our result. As we can see, anything that's 0 is good. Anything at 0 is good. Down here, 10. Yeah, that's over. Yeah. That calls you out which ones have the highest. And then the number of discounts. So if we then make that maybe a light one, a light red bar, like so. And then for number of discounts over 20%, I think because they're over 20%, that's not great. I reckon we can just go with a gradient. So if we go 20% background color, basically doing that. And let's do, don't format empty cells. Let's add a middle color, and then let's do this out light pastel colors, like so. I actually want it around the other way. Less is better. That's green, and there we go. And do that. We now get to highlight which ones. So the fact that you've got ones where it's saying that percentage discount is middle, that means there's going to be some that are high. Yeah. So unfortunately, where you got is 100%, it's really skewed how that color scheme looks, but at least you know there are worse performing, but weighted wise it's only one. It's not as bad as what you got here, so you can have a little play around to sort of figure out, okay, what's that look like. And then the same can be done with discounts applied, and again do that. And because discounts applied, if it is blank and 0, that's actually a good thing. So let's make that green, leave that as values only, and then we do that one, and then that one, and then what that mean is then it would fill in the blanks with green because that's actually positive, And technically you could do the same with here. Actually, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that because not having any over 20%, even if you haven't done it, is a good thing. So there you go. How much more nicer does that look than it did when we originally set it all up? Now it's all just put in this nice format, which makes it just so much more visually pleasing. And then being able to allow the user to get so much more information out of it just by taking that little bit of time to format for great user experience. So if you've had any experience of ever building any dashboards or done any requests from a client in the past, you know full well that that one request won't just be a one-off and you probably have to come back and revisit your dashboard. Because of that, it's a very good practice, especially within Power BI, to manage your measures in a folder to ensure that you can actually get back to them with ease. So the way I'm going to show you is by doing a folder within the actual fact table or dim table, depending on which one you have the measures in, than have a separate measures table like you can do. And there are other videos on the internet that show that way of doing it, and a lot of people do prefer that way. I've done that before, and actually I find doing it within the fact table or the dim table actually a lot more easier to remember where all the different ones are and also managing them as well. So that's why I'm going to show you this way. And all you have to do is go over to your modeling, and then within here, if you open up your fact sales table, which we've got here, and then we can see all our different measures. Now, if we highlight all that are there at the moment, so that was just clicking on, holding down shift and then going to there. And then if you hold down control and then click on the remaining ones, just like so, and then go down and get the last ones. And now you have them all. You have here a display folder, and all you have to do is just add in the name that you want. Now, if you want it to go to the top, it's a good idea to put something in front of whatever you want to call it. So in this case, I want to call the table measures. So I'm going to put an underscore and then do measures. And then if you press return, so now you have all your measures in one nice table. So I hope you found this video useful. And if you did, please like, share and subscribe. And also check out these other videos over here that will help you on your analytical journey. And as always, until next time.